Hi, and welcome to the presentation on learning statements. The learning statement is a portion of your portfolio, and it will be written for each and every essay that you are submitting within your portfolio. So you will have a learning statement for your diagnostic, your descriptive essay, your narrative essay, your process analysis essay, your persuasive essay, as well as any personal inclusions that you might be including. All of those things are outlined in the document about portfolios. And we'll continue to go through all of these things as we go throughout this next 8 weeks. So first of all, requirements for your learning statement. They will be placed at the beginning of each essay. So your portfolio will begin with an introduction, which we'll talk about later on in the semester, and then each paper will be introduced with what's called a learning statement, which is what we're talking about now, followed by the essay. And so for this learning statement, it is a minimum of 3 paragraphs and 1 page. So it has to hit both of those. It has to be 1 page in length and 3 paragraphs. And its purpose is to introduce the essay and to reflect on the writing process, and also what has been learned. Should be typed 12-point Times New Roman, 11-point Arial, and it also will be double spaced. In your learning statements, I like to kind of talk about them in terms of sections. Now, if you remember, it needs to be 3 paragraphs in length, can definitely be longer than that, can also be longer than 1 page. Many of them will go to 1.5 pages, and so it's not out of the question for you to have 1.5 pages for your entry or your learning statement. What you're going to start with is an introduction, and it's a very short 1 to 2 sentence introduction. It will connect to your theme, and we'll talk more about that later as we talk more about the introduction. So section 1 for right now you can skip. You can go back in and add that paragraph towards the end of the semester. In section 2, this is where the big bulk of your writing will occur. In section 2, you're going to reflect on the writing process that you used for this paper. And so during that writing process, you could talk about any portion of it: pre-writing, drafting, organizing, editing, revising, peer revision, submissions to the Writing Center. All of those things are fair game. In those bullets, you'll see a lot of different options outlined, and the one at the bottom, there is a document that you will find after this presentation, and it basically says learning statement questions to consider. And if you open that document, you'll see a bunch of questions that you can write about. Now, what a lot of people choose to do, because this has to be 1 to 2 paragraphs, a lot of them will choose 1 or 2 of those questions and develop that into a paragraph. And so, you know, one of the questions talks about, why did you choose this topic? So write a paragraph about why you chose the topic. One of the questions talks about strengths of the essay. So in a paragraph, talk about strengths of the particular essay that you're writing about. And so that learning statement, questions to consider, is a really good document. You'll have this section mastered if you choose 1 of those questions or 2 of those questions and develop each of those into its own paragraph. And then section 3, which some people would consider their 3rd or 4th paragraph, depending on how many paragraphs section 2 is the application portion. And so what you do in section 3 is you reflect on what you've learned while writing this paper and how it can be applied to your communications in the future. And so, you know, if maybe you learned a grammar concept, or maybe you learned about paragraphing or intros, or description or narration or organization, whatever it was that you learned in that essay, write about it. And then how can you then apply that information to your future communications? Now, I'm talking communications because not all of you will continue writing. Some of you will do more oral communication than you will written communication. And we'll all be doing communication with each other in conversation. And so apply it to your work world, apply it to your future schooling, apply it to your personal life. And so why is it important to have a well-organized argument if you're having a discussion with somebody? You know, we talk about tone, we talk about audience. Why is it important to keep those things in mind as you write or as you speak? And hopefully you'll be able to see some connections. So what did you learn, and how will you use it in your future? Lastly, in your learning statement, you should include a very short conclusion paragraph. It's 1 or 2 sentences that lead us from the reflection into the essay itself. And so basically you just want to say, hey, read my paper. I hope you enjoy it. This is really good, etc. So again, it's very short. So as a quick recap, learning statements are 3 paragraphs and 1 page, reflective in nature. I would say they're probably 3 sections. The first is an intro. The second section is kind of the discussion of the writing process and the reflection on the writing itself. The third section is what you learned and how you're going to use it. And then the last section is the conclusion, very, very short. If you have any questions about this, if you want me to read one of your learning statements before you go on and write all 5 or 6 or 7 of them, surely submit them to me via email, via a phone call, stop in during a Zoom office hour. I would be glad to help you.